Hi, I'm Laura. Welcome back to the land of Yak, where I'm educating my three boys using the Robinson curriculum as the base of our education. Today I wanted to talk to you about number sense. Okay, so RC, the guideline or the recommendation is to just master their math facts prior to starting Saxon 5-4. So that's what my goal has been, is math facts. But I encountered this term number sense, and for a while I've been trying to really comprehend what people mean by it, because it sometimes can sound kind of vague. But I thought, the more I looked into it, I was like, I do think there's value to this concept of number sense, and I do want to try to incorporate that, and especially into the early years. I don't worry about teaching a lot of the math stuff, like telling time and necessarily money, outside of more real world, just in real life. The kids will see stuff, they earn chore money, and I feel like a lot of that kind of comes up naturally. They naturally ask you what time it is, and you show them on the clock, and I do have one of those little teaching clocks, and we've played around with it, but I think that kind of stuff will just come up naturally. Personally, I think it's kind of a waste of structured learning time. There's just other concepts I want to put our energy into, besides things that are going to naturally come up in life, and that I'll just be teaching them as their mom, anyways. And I think a lot of that stuff is introduced, in curriculum and math curriculum too early, before kids. I think it's a waste of their brain power when they are in first grade, trying to teach them to, make change, or I don't know, do tons of stuff like that. Anyways, that's just my opinion on that kind of stuff. There's just other things. I do think that number sense is worth kind of drilling down on a little bit, though, because it's more of a way of thinking and a flexibility in their mind with numbers. And as someone who I think was lacking number sense myself as a kid, when I tried to kind of understand this concept, I thought, oh, I think that's why I had trouble with some stuff, is because I didn't have good number sense as a kid. Anyway, and I think as part of it is because I'm always the kid that asked the why. I just didn't accept. I've always done this. I don't just accept what you tell me. This is the equation, and just memorize it. I'm like, but why? But why does it work? I always want, and a lot of teachers, especially in public schools and those big classrooms, they don't have time to make sure that every kid is understanding. And my brain's kind of well, if you can't back it up, if you can't explain it to me, then I don't accept it. And I'm not going to waste my time memorizing something that hasn't been proved to me. Now, maybe that's just me, and I'm still like that to this day, though. So, I think that because my mind tends to work that way, it catches my attention, these things, and so number sense made sense to me as something to explore and look into a little bit. And now that there's a term to it that I feel like I understand a little bit better, I see myself recognizing it in curriculum. I'm like, oh, I see what they're trying to do there. That's number sense, but it's not necessarily laid out. This is number sense. We are practicing number sense. It's not very literal that they're connecting the term with whatever the little practice, and it's all kind of commingled. And people are doing lots of different things in curriculums over time, and things were kind of, you kind of see fads come in and out in education. So that's kind of why I'm finding that I shy away from whole curriculums, because they're influenced by education fads, and I go more for goals, and then I work on specific skills. I like to piece things out a little bit, so I can get rid of the things that might be kind of faddish, and chart our own course based on skills and maybe specific topics. So that's how I am building, and that's why I call myself an eclectic homeschooler, I guess, or RC plus, right? I like RC. I think RC already is kind of like that. I think that's why I was drawn to it. It is already more goal oriented and not it's the opposite of what public education is. We say that's the first plus to it. So let's just talk a little bit more about number sense. I might make a couple videos on this to kind of talk about certain aspects of it, and then give you real life examples of how I am implementing it in our homeschool with our young. It's for me, it's more geared towards the youngest, because once they get into like Saxon 5-4, I'm just like handing them off to Saxon. But in this younger years, this makes sense. It seems practical, and it seems like it's something that would yield fruit. Okay, so what is number sense? What do people mean? I'm gonna read to you some notes. I'll try to link everything, all the resources that I think would be helpful down below. So this, I printed out, this was a free number sense assessment. So I'm gonna read you some stuff. I'll link this down below for you too. So there is a lady, I forget what her name is. She calls herself a recovering traditionalist, and she runs a blog, therecoveringtraditionalist.com. And I believe I found her on Instagram because I believe it's Building Math Minds or Building Math something like that. And I think she's got a YouTube channel too. So I'll try to leave her information down below. I want to say she was an actual like school teacher. I don't know if she's still teaching or if she just does this stuff on her independently now. But she has this free number sense assessment. And she gives a good synopsis of what number sense is trying to accomplish. There's like 4 areas that it's trying to give a deeper, grasp to students with. And she's quoting from Van de Waal et al. And there's 4 relationships that need to be developed for students to gain number sense with numbers up to 20. So they can not only operate with those numbers, but also understand them. So the first one is spatial relationships, recognizing how many without counting by seeing a visual pattern. I'm thinking like when you roll dice and you see the ... that's 5 without even, the 2 lines of 3 is 6. Like you just know there's certain patterns. Tally marks, are groups of 5, and you know that one just automatically. I know people are using nowadays the subitizing or subitizing. I'm not sure you say that. Those 10 frame things. We never used those as kids, so I'm not drawn to that because I'm like, seems like there's, like you're never going to use that in real life. So I personally filter out things that I don't think they're ever going to use in real life. Okay, so anyways, but spatial relationships. Number 2, 1 and 2 more, 1 and 2 less. This is not the ability to count on 2 or count back 2, but instead knowing which numbers are 1 and 2 less or more than any given number. Benchmarks, number 3, benchmarks of 5 and 10. 10 plays such an important role in our number system, and 2 5s makes a 10. Students must know how numbers relate to 5 and 10. That's helpful. And the 4th is part whole. Seeing a number is being made up of 2 or more parts, right? That is the basic. I thought that was the best explanation of what number sense is and what it's trying to achieve, especially in these early years that I came across when I was trying to find like a good, not like a super vague definition. I feel like really vague definitions are not very helpful. But this was the most specific one I could find that I thought actually gave me spatial patterns, 1 and 2 more or less, benchmarks, and part whole. I was like, oh, those are concepts that I could find activities to fit under to work on those concepts on their mathematical mind. So I would recommend that to you. I'm going to link this number sense assessment down below so you can have that. I'm just reading off of her assessment. I think she's got videos. She's talked about it before too. But I like to have something on paper so I can keep it with my stuff. She has more on the power of relationships, or she goes into deeper explanations of those things herself. And then she's got a spatial relationship assessment checklist. This is helpful. So you could do this assessment with your kid and just kind of see where they are. So I would say, I haven't done this assessment quite yet, just because I was thinking I would use it with my preschooler and my second grader. I just haven't done the actual assessment yet, but I do plan to. But then I'm hoping I'll be able to see like where they're lacking in number sense, and then I can prescribe, find a prescription for that deficiency in understanding. And my goal would be that these have to be things that are not too time consuming and that are not too like convoluted, that are very direct and specific, and that they also like that. So I'm probably going to be looking for things that are more geared towards like a game type thing. So those are the 4 relationships of number sense that I think are worth learning, and that and I'm looking for activities that are not too time consuming, that are very specific and direct, and that are fun. Oh, and I should say that aren't like overly expensive. Like I'm not going to go buy like a $30 book or something on this. I don't personally, like I have spent my school budget money for my book money for the year. So everything from this point has to be things I have in my house or that are free resources. So I'm going to try to share as much as what works for me and meets those criteria as I can. Okay, so just for today, I thought let's focus on the spatial relationships, recognizing how many without counting by seeing a visual pattern. So I think that this already assumes that your child can, 1, count, and 2, some recognition of numerals, So I will start there, and I will just show you some of the activities that we've been using to get us to that point. Okay, I'm going to insert some footage here. Okay, I just want to show you kind of the basic building blocks we'll build up onto those number sense. So we're starting with kind of spatial, right? So the spatial concept, again, recognizing how many without counting by seeing a visual pattern. Okay, so first we need to know that they can count up to a certain point and recognize numerals, really. So I start them, and I'll link, these are free. I'm going to show you a bunch of free stuff. That my number lessons for preschool, these number lines come with it, and so I just start setting goals. So maybe the first goal is that they can count to 3, right? So I don't teach 0 actually right away. I teach 0 probably right around the time I teach 10. So I actually start 1. So we say everything starts with 0, but I don't make them, it might confuse them, but I tell them if you do 0 is nothing. It's this many. 0, nothing, no fingers up. 1, 2, 3, right? So first I try to teach them to count, and we just start counting everything in sight, all the time. When we go out to check our eggs in the morning, I would have my 4-year-old count the eggs, You count to play hide and go seek. You count up to or down from 10 or up to 10. There's lots of counting that goes on in life. I feel like that kind of comes naturally. But when you want to start getting them to recognize the numerals, and then, spatial relationships, so like, representative things that show, 5 or whatever, you got to make sure that they know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then maybe the next one is to teach them 6 and 7. I just keep adding on once they can count like that on their own without looking. But I do start them out by looking at the line in the morning, or whenever you start your math time. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 is what is my goal for preschool, that they can recognize up to 12. And then we count backwards, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, blah, blah, blah. Right? Then I might point to things out of sequence. So 2, what's that one? 8, what's that one? 5, what's that one? 10, right? And we just do that. I find it really, really effective to have a routine. Just get yourself a simple routine, pick out your activities, and just do them like every day. And they don't have to be long. Math time isn't super long or anything, but they do it every single day, and they start remembering, right? So with everything that we do, I just have a basic method. I do basically the same, and we just are progressing. We're doing the same thing, but we're basically progressing down the line, right, of those skills or concepts or ability, right? So there's a warm up there, and then I start introducing, I think I started with flashcards. And so then there's this too, and then maybe you have them practice writing that number. So I usually put this in one of these like dry erase envelopes so they can practice over and over writing on it. But I have this, which will give you little, like little rhymes, and it starts teaching them the symbols. Like, so this would be a spatial. So like tally marks is a spatial relationship. It's a visual pattern, right? They see this, that means 0, it means nothing, right? 1, it's convenient because it looks like the number 1, the tally mark, right? Yeah, and so on. So I have them practice, and whatever one we're working on, right? And I can just erase it when I put it in that little envelope. I'll link my favorite envelopes for you because some of them, like these ones I bought, these ones do not, the dry erase does not erase as well from this one as a different set I bought. So I'm going to link you my favorite set that erases by far better than that one does. So we can do bump bump on a tree. That's why you make a 3. And they don't have to write, they don't have to do all the copy work, all the practicing in one day. They could just do like a line. You know, I start out with more help, more scaffolding, and it gets down to less. And also we do a lot of writing on a chalkboard because they can write bigger and they don't have to hold their pencil, you know, or pen as well with their little hands. Sometimes I think it's easier to hold chalk. But anyways, if you go back to my number lessons for preschool, there's a lot more activities that are more those very, very early stages of activities you can do for formation. But anyways, I do have them do this one a lot. So just a really simple one. And there's that spatial relationship there, and they're associating it with the numeral. And I have them try to copy that. So we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we goes across, and then we start over, then 2 more. So right now, this is also teaching them the part and whole. Part, whole. So part, right? And 7 is the whole. So 5 is part of 7, and so is 2. 5 and 2 is 7. But they're already kind of, you don't have to explain it necessarily. They'll start putting those connections together in their brain. That gal I was talking about, she talks, I did a free training I'd watched that she had put out at some point, and she said she was actually telling teachers to stop teaching strategies, to let the kids make the connections on their own. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Tell me what you guys think about that, if you have any thoughts on it, right? 9, and then I didn't do 10 on this, but you can, I would obviously teach them that 10 is 2 5s. And I like tally marks. I just like them better than like dominoes or like 10 frames. I just basically like to stick with tally marks and the Abacus, right? There's another one dealing with 10s. I think that's enough for us. I just don't think we're ever going to use 10 frames, and counting by I feel like the time that the dominoes, I don't know. We do dice though, because you actually do use dice in games and stuff. So I'm not going to overload them with, I'm just going to pick the manipulatives or the visual representations that I think that they'll see the most in life in general, even outside of class, and just teach those. I don't see the need to, they can learn about dominoes whenever they really want to play dominoes, whatever age that is. You know what I mean? Okay, so then more about spatial relationships. So I made these cards. We had a whole bunch of these flashcards. It's a set. And it comes in, so I start by having them count, right? This would be like level 1 would be to count. I think they go up to 30. 10 items. And I made these specifically in a way that I thought would be easy to count. Like, it's easier to count around in a circle because I was buying really cute ones like off Etsy and stuff, but there was 2 problems. The way that they were laid out was too chaotic and like not in lines and stuff, and they would lose track sometimes and double count or skip stuff. And also they would be like all of one thing. So they'd have like 10 bees or something. but they all look the same. And so I was just finding too many errors in their counting. It was making them not as effective for practice. So I made these specifically so that the things they were counting, I think circles are easy to count around and to like stop, start on a really distinct one, like this green one is really distinct. So you start there, right? And then, go to the middle at the end. So anyways, I strategically set these up to get rid of some of the frustration factor, right, that can happen. Like, we don't want that. So first we start there, and I just, they can see it here. That's 10. And I chose a font that you see, something that you do see ones looking like that, even though we don't tend to write our ones like that, right? But you see that in print. And then we started matching them, wanting to match them with just the 10. And we would practice writing it. And I used our glitter glue. I'll link it down below, my favorite one. And that was an activity whenever we introduce a new number, is we put the glitter glue on there and let them do it with their little finger, and they get to feel that. And now it's kind of like one of those Montessori or like sandpaper cards where they can always do this, they can feel it. And with the lower ones, like we can use our little nursery rhyme. So we can say, first a circle, then a line, that's the way you make a 9, right? Anyways, I started by, having them count things and then having them, find the numeral that matched. Then we played a lot of memory where we, whatever numbers we were practicing, you flip them all over, right? And then you flip them over until you find the matches. And they love that game. And then, of course, you can, when they get a match, they get to keep their cards. At the end of the game, you guys get to, count up your matches, and then whoever has the most wins. And that's another good. You can start introducing words like more and less. Oh, you have more, I have less. Which one is more? Which one is less? And don't forget to have them be good sportsmen, like good sportsmanship or whatever. And we always shake hands and say good game, no matter who won, or good game, thank you for the game. Let's play again soon. Like, teach them some manners. That'll help them win friends in life. Okay, so that would be level 1. Level 2 is I start adding in the tally mark cards. And I really like tally mark cards because it goes into the groups of 5, in which we deal a lot with 5s. And then, like I said, it's teaching them the part whole, and we've already practiced it. We've seen that in this when they were learning to write them, or practicing write them. Again, you can use those over and over. Just keep practicing in the dry erase envelopes. I'm looking for see, these are like actually the cards I'm using with my son right now. I'm looking for the 10. There it is, 10, right? So they can see that 10 is 2 5s. He is still right now kind of counting these all up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though I think he knows it's 5. Right now he's still at the stage where he's still counting them all, and I'm just letting him, I'm not going, no, I have told him before, that's 5, and you just count 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But if he hasn't made that connection himself, I'm going to let his brain take the time to make, finally, I'm wondering when it's going to be that he just goes, oh, 5, and 2 5s is 10. I'm waiting to see when that happens. And because we play this game like almost every day, and he still asks for it. He says, can we play our numbers? Can we play our letters? Can we do something similar with letters? Right? And then you can take away this one, right? And start doing the memory game with these sets, with the numerals and the tally marks instead. Okay, and then the last one, which I haven't got to yet, is I did make, look here, see, I had to really, this is 25. So I was like, see, I got 2 groups of 10, they look the same, and then there's a group of 3 and a group of 2, right? So I was really careful. And then I do have the number words. Here's 25. I don't know where my 10 is. It's probably, there's 5. There's 10, right? So then you could start doing memory games with, and you could pick. You could do those 2, one game, and you could do those 2, a different game. You could even go back to doing this many, like this one, for a game, right? Because they're still seeing that. But these, when you start wanting them to learn to recognize the words, and this might be a good time to introduce these whenever you're starting into their, they're starting into reading and phonics and stuff. Right now, I don't think he's quite ready to see the number words necessarily, but I'll probably start doing this sometime in kindergarten, adding these words in. Right now, he's in these. Where are we? Oh, I think we are to the number 12 in preschool. He hasn't mastered all of them, but he's mastered quite a few of the cards, and so sometimes we just focus on a day on just the ones that he sometimes forgets. Sometimes he just has a hard time with the 9, remembering what the 9 is, and like the 11 and the 12. So sometimes we just play a game with the 9, 11, and the 12. And I know he can count to those. He can count to 12 better than he can remember what the numeral for 12 looks like. So if that's what he's weak on, sometimes days we just practice those ones. But he does get a good amount of review. Anyway, so that's one way I think for spatial recognizing patterns that represent numbers. So 5, 10, 12, he'll be able by playing this game to make those connections here soon. So yeah, some of these activities, they are hitting on more than one of the number sense. So I think we got part whole in there, a little bit of benchmark and spatial relationships. Now 1 and 2 more and 1 or less. I haven't started doing that yet, but I think an easy way to start when you're ready to introduce that would be, with the number line. Let's look at 5. What's 1 more than 5? And teach them 6. What's 1 less? 4. And you just teach them more is going this way, less is going this way. You could even turn it this way so they know more is up, less is down, right? And another thing we do is sometimes we just flip these cards over like this. I have so many things we do. And so when he flips it over and he gets a 10, then he can get 10 blocks and stack them up, or 10 of those little math cubes and stack them up. And then we'll do the next one. So he has the same one still. He gets 12, right? And so then he'll stack them up 12 or whatever. And then I'll see which one's higher, because you can physically see. And you can do that maybe even with Duplo, if you have Duplo blocks. Duplo blocks? Why can't I say Duplo blocks? Anyways, Duplo blocks, because you can physically see one's higher. And so that one's more, right? Or less. So start teaching them that spatial, concrete, more or less kind of thing. And then you could take one off and say, when I take one less, now I have, and have them count it up. And I would just give yourself a set number of cards to do that through, so that you don't overdo it. Just do like 5, maybe 4 or 5 cards or something. It depends on how old your kid is and what their attention span is and all that kind of stuff. I think you get the idea. But this is just really inexpensive. I mean, you could even you don't have to buy cards. You could make cards yourself. You may have something around the house. But you can see, I like doing this method so much. I mean, I did these all the way up to 30. I'm hoping maybe through kindergarten, we'll be all the way through the 30s and have a good sense of number sense, by working through these. And he likes it because it's like a game. And then I also start introducing the abacus. And we've already done some abacus in the preschool years, right? With it goes that way, with counting. And I think that abacus is a really good way. I like these ones, they're groups of 10. I love it when they get to 10 and they regroup, right? They all the way go, regroup. So one 10 is worth 10 ones, right? You start into that concept. I will link my playlist for my abacus, like how to use the abacus and my abacus flashcards. I'll link that down below too if your kid is ready to move into operations, like multiplication, division, subtraction, addition, that kind of stuff. I always start them on the abacus before anything else, and I have a flashcard set that goes along with that, and it was just so helpful. Actually today, I'll show you. He was doing his warm-up because he's working on his math facts, and these are the math facts that he needs to focus on. I was like, do those ones. So those ones he knew, and he kind of got stuck. So he was doing the 12s. He's like, Mom, can I use the abacus? So I was like, sure. So he pulled down the abacus and he did his multiples with 12 on the abacus to fill that in. And it shows me that he still understands he has number sense about what multiplication is, because this really teaches that, and they like it. It's fun, right? It's like a game. And it was back to preschool age. Like, we've just counted on here up to 10, right? 10. Here's 10, and then maybe here's 8. Which one's more? Yeah, this one's more, right? You could teach more or less like that. But this is groups of 10, which I think is great. Okay, so I have like endless games. If you guys want to see more games or like activities on number sense and how we're kind of doing that, leave me a comment below. And I've definitely got more. And this video is probably going to get way too long. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. If this is something you're interested in getting started on, go ahead and pick up the number lessons and preschool math activities. This is free in my TPT store. I'll link it down below for you. It's got starter flashcards, and I think they're just numerals and shapes though. And you can get started on tracking what you've done and what you're focusing on, and just kind of get yourself organized in your mind. Like, what am I doing here? Like, you don't want to just be doing a bunch of random stuff. It seems like kind of a waste of time, and you're like, why I'm just not really getting the results I want. I think it's probably because a lack of being intentional, because you need some concrete goals to work towards, and that'll help you pick your resources and pick your activities, you know. Okay, talk to you later. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate. Good morning, Bo.
Good morning.
We all have colds. Excuse our stuffy voices. So the big boys are doing their Bible journaling right now. We went over Psalm 83 today. And so I set the timer for 10 minutes, and that's just about enough time to play a game with Beauregard. So basically all I really need is some manipulatives. And, you know, I've got his flashcards in my recipe tin here. And these Uncle Goose, these blocks are my favorite ones because they've got letters on them. And then they've also got, the numbers, even with the name of the number, like the word version on it too. There we go, 9. So we play lots of different versions of this type of thing. And so popsicle sticks are a great manipulative. I love them because they're great for doing the tally marks. 5. So we do that with them a lot. So today what I'm going to do is I am going to just pick I'm going to pick a block, and I'm going to find a number on it, and I'm going to ask him, I'm just going to show it to him and tell him, what's the name of this number. And then to work on his, one-to-one association, he is going to he's going to count me out, if this is 8, counting sticks. And if he gets it right, then he gets the block, and he gets to start building a tower with it, which he loves to do. So, Bo, what number is this?
I like to skip one. Very great.
It's an 8. Yeah, and he's using the little rhymes I have taught him, and I'll link that document for you below because the kids like that one. Okay, Bo, can you count me out 8 counting sticks? 1,
2, 3, 4, 5.
What do you do with the 5th one?
6.
Yeah, there's 6. 5 goes across, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How many more to get to 8? 6.
6. 17.
7.
18.
Not 18, just 8. So we have, how many is this?
1, 2, 3, 5.
This is
5.
5.
6, 7, 8.
Good. So 5 and 3 more is 8. Good job. Okay, you're going to start your tower. Then I'll take those, right? So you see it, how he's working on it there? Okay. Next is, let's see what's on here. We don't want to give him the same one. What is this?
6.
6. Very good. Can you count me out 6 counting sticks?
1, 2.
You could use an abacus for this too.
2.
We're working on him learning his tally marks. That's why I'm having him do it this way. 5 goes across. Good job.
6.
6! Perfect! Ding, ding, ding. You got it. Here you go. Okay. Well, I think you see how this game works. Working on some number sense, recognizing the numerals, and being able to represent it with manipulatives, 1 for 1. And we're going to see how high we can get this thing.